when I first got the dog patch, I was in a room all by myself. And they put us in there about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and you stayed in there all night till about 8 o'clock the next morning. And that's all estimation, obviously, because didn't have a clock or watch or whatever. We were able to have a fair estimation of time back down in the camps in Hanoi area, because we got a radio program in the morning and at night, and then there's 12 o'clock gong and 2 o'clock gong. We might have been off a few minutes, but those were pretty close. Up here, we didn't have any frame of reference. You had to do it all by yourself in the sun and whatever. But if there were two of you, we could play AC/DC. Again, they let us have cards, and we had a little oil lamps. And I was living most of the time with a fellow up here from Cumming, Georgia. He had a really good card shark game player, and we spent a lot of hours playing cards and AC/DC. And in fact, back in usually we had a tournament one time, and we were playing a routine, a round robin sort of thing of aggravation, hearts, pinochle, and something else I forgot now. And we had elimination. We got up to the finals, and it got to be such a big deal. Guards came in watching, cheering for size. That's the only time that you could say we got close to Stalag 17. But things had loosened up a lot. Of course, when the bombing started, it all went back to clampdown. And all the stuff that took place around Hanoi during late 72 and over Christmas, like the Christmas bombing and so on, we missed out on. Although we had a hint, because at Christmas, and to the Vietnamese credit, they'd give us what to them was a really special meal. It was special to us too, over the soup and rice and bean or bread. Christmas and on Tet, their national holiday, and they would acknowledge the 4th of July for us. In fact, one time back at the zoo on the 4th of July, I came by and opened the peep and motioned to bring your cup. And they poured about that much beer in everybody's cup. We thought, gosh, word coming out, we must be going home this next week. No, that wasn't it. But anyway, the comment was made at Christmas at Dog Patch, we didn't have coffee because the trucks were bombed. Well, we figured that's just part of the routine. And then we learned, there really was this Christmas bombing that turned the tide of everything, because about 3 weeks later, the trucks started coming into camp, and we loaded up, and they moved us back to Hanoi, stopping along the way to split us up into groups, which didn't make a whole lot of sense initially till we realized we're all in the same period of time being shot down, and they were setting us up for the forward release groups. The stop that we were all split up, when we got into the individual camps, we realized that we were all about the same time period. And I was in a new camp to me, one we call Plantation, that had been the old French governor's compound. And we were all in the 67, early 68 time period. We'd been there maybe 10 days or so, and we were called out. And the camp commander read us the protocol. Well, he announced the agreement of the Paris Accords, and read us the protocol on POW treatment, that we'd start going home right away and all completed within 60 days. And I think he stated in 4 groups, which now explained how we got divided. And they were all waiting around for us to cheer and clap and carry on, but we had determined way back and put out the word that there would be no show of emotion. We'd just accept it and go on. And we marched all back into our individual rooms. And then we had a big time grinning and clapping and patting each other on the back and trying to figure out when we would go, because we didn't know what the cutoffs and sequence would be. Well, there happened to be a condition in there that the sick and wounded would be released first. There was a little difference in interpretation on this. U.S. thought that meant they would come out as a group, and then there would be 4 groups of the remainder. Vietnamese interpreted they would be in the first release group. So when the first group came out, that was it. I got the big controversy, and there was hassle going on. So about the same time, apparently the Vietnamese did a recount and realized they didn't have the right number of people in the second group, and so 3 of us got moved up to the second group, and we stayed there 2 days till they counted again, and they took us back. Well, to resolve the issue of the sick and wounded, they made a special release of 20 people, and it went out. There was no rhyme or reason, no sequence. It was just 20 people here, you, and you. Well, this time that created another vacancy. So now, I think it was 7 of us moved up from the third to the second group. And that meant going from Plantation back to Waddell, because the first 2 groups were in Waddell, 4th group being out at the zoo. And then there was still some controversy about what the number count was, because we were supposed to be released on the 1st of March. And for the first group that went out, they had this nice dinner for them the night before, like the Christmas dinner and tent dinner. And they gave us ours, but also announced that there may be some problem. And sure enough, the next morning, the camp commander came out. I don't think so today. And we did that for 3 days. And finally, on the night of the 3rd, he came out and said, I think tomorrow, okay. And sure enough, the next morning, it was a go. During that time, we had been out, during that move-up time, we went out and got fitted for what we called our go-home clothes. We got blue pants and light blue shirts and gray jackets, and got actual shoes, little weekend bags, and some of the guys got their watches back, rings back, and so on. One of them got a watch back, it wasn't his. Some of them got some money back, it wasn't theirs. Their accounting system wasn't exactly infallible. It was kind of amusing at times, but some of the guys actually got their own things back, wedding rings and like that.
How about you?
No, I didn't wear any. I didn't have anything to keep. I had a pack of Marlboros and a pack of Salem menthols, because we had heard that they like North Vietnamese, the Vietnamese like U.S. cigarettes. And I'll never forget when he took that out of my flat suit and he crumbled threw it over in the trash. So much for that intelligence. It's like eating out in the restaurants and theaters. But anyway, said this morning, so they had our clothes ready, and we went over and suited up in our go-home clothes. And one of the things I didn't mention about getting to Waddell, when we drove in the first night there is a double gate and big metal gates, and everyone that I've heard them describe their experience mentions when you come through the gate and stop, and you drive through the second gate and you hear the second one close, you know you are in here to stay. Well, this time we walked out and those double gates were wide open. You could see out in the street, you could see across the street. So, wow, this may be for real. And we got on these little buses, an interesting camouflage pattern, black and white. I guess that fit in the city, I don't know. It'd seat about 20 people, as I recall. And we drive through town, and they drove us by some of the areas that had been bombed and the damage done. And most notable was that we had to go across the Red River on pontoons bridge. The big bridge had finally been knocked down to stay down for a while with the guided bombs. And they took us over to a little park area. And we were sitting there wondering, says, they just told us to wait for an airplane. And while we were there, they come out past me. We could get out and walk around. There was a little, like a little picnic shed covered over, and it was covered here, some tables, benches. And they passed out sugar cookies and warm beer. And I said, that's a real combination. Never had this before. Yeah, cigarettes, and we were sitting there enjoying things. Finally, after, I don't know, it must have been at least an hour, maybe longer, had us load back in the bus, and we drive over. We come up to Geelong Airport and sit on the bus there a few minutes behind the hangars. And then we turn around into the corner, and here's the prettiest airplane ever built. C-141, built right here in Marietta, Georgia, had United States of America and the flag. And I looked around, and even right now, just think, throat gets a little tight and flinching to see that out there again. It's just kind of like hearing a national anthem when you feel that wave going on. And we lined up in order, and an officer that we called a rabbit from downtown, he wasn't in any of the camps, he'd come around on special things, read out each name, and we walked up, and then, in my case, it was an Air Force colonel, walked up and saluted, Major Dwayne Waddell reporting for duty. And he saluted back, and most of us, an escort officer, walked us over to the airplane. And I said when I got back, and I still feel it, and I walked up the ramp of that 141, I could swear I could smell the red clay of North Georgia. I knew I was headed home. And when I told them out at Lockheed, they gave me a model and put that tail number on it. That's one of my prized possessions.